he wins a fight in a boxing ring. He don't know that he could beat the man, but he just gave it all and trusted that it might work if he applied himself and didn't think about spending the money or celebrating it. It is the discovery of something you've studied a lot about your science, whatever it is, and you trust your theories and you go out there and you are right. When you've actually gone and studied and done something and you've come to a new place and you've put it to faith, you've done all the work there is, you've rehearsed your lyrics, I've done that, and I've gone to a dance and I've tore the fucking place up. And I'm like, I always knew I could do it. But I remember what I did to get there, to take it, what it took to get there. It was a lot of rehearsing. Me on my Jack Jones, me with my paper, rehearsing it. Inside out, backwards. And then I went there and it made it look like it was easy. And then I knew how to do what the rest was. Okay? It is a good feeling because you realise nothing is given unless you get a seed and plant it. But I'm in that juncture at the moment, I could plant a seed and that's when I realised you're in that wilderness where Moses was, where Jesus was, where many people are. And you're tempted and tempted and tempted and tempted. I've been in this wilderness 10 years. Coming up, well, this year we'll be coming up 11, right? I didn't know, I would never have volunteered it. But anyway, so what I really wanted to do was talk about why I was talking about cease and desist, banging on Christianity, and then I went into see past colour. Well, I'm going to blend the two of them because this guy, Jonathan Swift, he's the guy who wrote Gulliver's Travels. He's a white guy, okay? And everybody's challenged with the reality of lives. And Jonathan Swift was a public intellectual, a talking head, a man of letters and power, somebody who can write. The Gutenberg press is out there, and those who can write and intellectualize and give their views open for discussion and so forth can sway the public, hence public intellectual, okay? And I've said it before, I'll say it again, no nation rises above its scholars and teachers and academics. Although we're living in the neo-Marxist world where they're trying to roll back and they're dumbing down everybody. And so I'm old school. I come from the old school of academics and they're trying to get rid of the old school academics. So what is true, they don't like. What is solid foundation based on evidence, they don't like. They are more of your emotions trumps evidence. We don't need evidence because evidence can come over biased and hurt people's feelings. And we're all about feeling. Except when you are the black man with your plate saying, yeah, but you bought the argument. Homosexuals coming fourths. People in questioning, here's your fifth. Stand back, black boy. You say, chip on your shoulder. Can't you just wait? It has to be about you all the time. You're like, but it's an empty plate. You're eating already then, isn't it? And you're like, you just can't win. I'm sorry to my white brothers and sisters, but that is exactly what's going on and been going on. And when you get a bad reaction with people who have presented their plate, then you get an expression that looks like they're stupid. They do all kind of mad, crazy stuff just to get a little crumb in, just to do anything. You encourage stealing. You're not recognising their humanity, in other words. And they act out. This is behaviour. It's programmed from the social engineers. So it becomes an expression of a suffering people. But if you are seeing it from an uber right-wing perspective, you'll say, that's them. That's why we're not going to give them any justice, because that's their expression. They will always be this. No, you created that. And you denied them their humanity by not accepting them as people to have an expression, and you can say, wow, a model minority. Woo! But they'll kiss everybody else's ass and say, oh, the Chinese are a model minority, or the Asians are a model minority, but they didn't go through the butchery that we did. Some would say, well, that's not true. Amritsar, that's not on this ground, that's in India. That's in India, and a struggle for Indian independence, for argument's sake. And they were butchering each other's anyway. I mean, you've only got to look at the Sooty. I am not... Apples and oranges. they will be considered a Muslim minority today. Whereas these people, still where you've had seconds and thirds. These people still ain't got it. Even the people on the African continent can come to this country and get seconds and thirds, but not the fact people of the Caribbean. They're still waiting with their bowl. Like, what the fuck? And the Caribbeans are like the African Americans, the actual descendants of slaves. We, the descendants of slaves, with a bowl. Everybody else gets to share in whatever the American pie or English pie is, right? Except us. So, anyway, there was a period where I'm going to read this, although it's very, very small print up. I don't know. I printed it out really, really tiny. So, please I was reading it earlier on. I was going for it. And I thought, should I read this? Now, I forget the actual date this was actually printed. But it's in the 1600s. So it's after the Revolution. When I say the Revolution, the Roundheads versus the Cavaliers, Cromwell, and the killing of King Charles the First. And incidentally, the greatest monarch that's ever lived is Edward the First, the tall guy, long shanks. You know the guy Mel Gibson and Hollywood made the bad guy in William Wallace's Braveheart. That's the best king yeah. He is the progenitor of the Union on which we now are beneficiaries of, and it was the right action to take. As brutal as it was, it had to be, and would have been sooner or later. It had to be, okay? So that was the first thing, a union. So Jonathan Swift is writing about, it's called An Argument to Prove that the Abolishing of Christianity in England may, as things now stand, be attended with some inconveniences and perhaps not produce those many good effects proposed thereby. They used to come with some long titles. I'll shorten it for you. The argument that's holding sway with a lot of talking heads is that we should abolish Christianity because X, Y, and Z. He's saying, your X, Y, and Z, I don't think hold up. This is what this is about. Okay? So he starts off by saying, I am very sensible what a weakness and presumption it is to reason against the general humour and disposition of the world. Do you understand what that means? I'll break it down for you. That's what academics can do. They could listen to text and give you it straight. So I'm going to read it one more time. You might be able to get it, but if you don't, I'll tell you what it means. I am interpreting English to English, for English. I am very sensible what a weakness and presumption it is to reason against the general humour and disposition of the world. In other words, everybody thinks this, and I am sensible, I understand, I'm intelligent to know everybody thinks that. I don't know how bad it is to go against that. The consensus says, and they tell you, the ozone layer, sky falling in the head, the polar bears dying, ice caps. I'm sensible, I understand that a lot of people have their feelings in this, okay? But I go against it, right? I remember it was with great justice. That means great standing, I've got a right to say this. I remember it was with great justice and due regard to the freedom both of the public and the press. That means people were talking and the press were printing, bidden upon several penalties to write or discourse or lay wagers against the union. That means there was a period when if you were to say, I don't like the union, I don't like this idea of union, why should it be England, Scotland and Wales? They'll castigate you. People will, you can't even you can't even bet against it. So bad was the feeling. Everybody's still in their feelings, right? Even before it was confirmed by Parliament. Because that was looked upon as a design, okay, to oppose the current of the people. This current of the people gets on my nerves. What people? And just because the people are emotionally involved doesn't mean your academics and your brains and your scientists can't challenge them. But there was a time. Alas, we're talking about the time. And he's mentioning the time, right? The people. Which besides the folly of it, as we now know, don't run with the people because it's stupid to do so unless you've got scientific facts. Now he knows at the time, 1600, the folly of it is a manifest breach of the fundamental law that makes this majority of opinion the voice of God. In other words, they go on like, just because there's a lot of them, the consensus, that's the voice of God. To go against it, yo, you're sinner, heretic, and they've just come out of the religious wars. So it almost can be a death sentence, is what he's saying, to go against the majority. That's the opening salvo in this essay about abolishing Christianity. In other words, he's saying there are lots of people at the moment talking about abolishing Christianity, and we're in the same situation. If I speak against it, you're more or less going to want to kill me for it, right? You're more or less going to want to kill me for it, right? But he's going to do it in any way. In like manner, he says, and for the very same reasons, it may perhaps be neither safe nor prudent to argue against the abolishing of Christianity at a juncture period time when all parties appear so unanimously determined upon the point, as we cannot but allow from their actions, their discourses, and their writings. I could go on, and it is really interesting. I love the piece so much and I love the way he took every point. He done what I did, or I did what he did, without knowing that he'd done this hundreds of years ago. I wrote, you probably know this if you watch my Uncle Tom video. I've read Uncle Tom. Inside out. And there's something in that book, wow. You know what I mean? I've said that before. If you watch the Uncle Tom video and the flag, you'll get it. But I went through because people, I had to really nail this down. I'm like, shut the hell up. They're using this term, you're an Uncle Tom, and they know nothing about it. So I went through every instance where it could be perceived that Uncle Tom was perceived to have sold out, cowered it out, kissed ass, whatever he's supposed to be accused of, and it made no sense. Every instance, I've written the essay. And so he's done the same thing. Every argument that they say, the abolition of Christianity, he answers it. And he makes it look, he's kind of humorous a bit, you know what I mean? And sometimes that's the best way to put people in their place. Rather than do it with a wrath of vim, fire, and I'll punch you down. I don't believe in the you know what I mean? I think as a people in this dimension, we're past the point of war anyway. We really are past the point of war. The only reason why we have war is because we have a banking elite that finances it. And gunboat politics is in full swing. So this country is a Christian country. He's argued against all the reasons that they've had, and thus it has been so. And it's a very interesting piece, and I will refer to this piece again in another presentation. Yes, I see past colour because that wisdom came from a white guy. I don't know if he's tall, fat, skinny. I don't know if he bathed every week. I have no... But he was rich. I don't care. The spirit of the man of the age is a spirit that I can revisit today and you can revisit today. And if it makes sense to you, is sense colour-coded? Is truth colour-coded? Did it not emanate from me just now to you? And I don't know whether you're Chinese or from Burma. I don't know. Neither do I care. If we're in the trenches together, we know that's the enemy's that way, right? So, and when I say the enemy's out there, not introduce point 3. Listen, realise this is your moment. This whole lockdown is your moment. It's your moment to gather yourself to understand. It's your moment to park your work up and understand its true value. But you have to fight for your freedom. And it's not just about your freedom, it's for your children's freedom and the yet to be conceived freedom. And you have to maintain your freedom. And it's going to take a while for people to understand that if they do fight for their freedom, i.e. you, and you actually win a modicum of freedom, you need to gain more freedom and maintain your freedom, because those who lose control will fast want it back. And they are fast taking away your freedom at this very moment. You better look at some of those bills that they're passing. There's a document that I've left behind, and I really wish I didn't, because the whole show was going to be based upon those documents that Trump, I think I might have here, Trump has brought in. And when you don't know what the magician is doing, and he says, watch my hand here, it's this hand you got to watch as well. Now Trump has just done something. He's just got rid of this link to the WHO. The WHO is heavily funded by Bill Gates and Fauci and the gang, right? And they're the gang behind the vaccines, and they want to make money out of this. And the other big funder is the United States government. Well, Trump has just said, no, I'm not going to fund that no more. We're not going to take those computer models. I mean, we're on lockdown because of the likes of our very own professor, Neil Ferguson, and his computer model, which said, 500,000 in England. Pandemic scare. 2 million in America. And he, under parliamentary scrutiny and questioning, he changed his mind. He lied. He reduced the figure to something like between 5 and 7,000. Well, if it's only 5 and 7,000, why do they need to lock everybody down? Why are we panicking? Why are we calling it a pandemic? People die of car crashes more. People die of flu more. People die of diabetes more. I mean, if you're going to lock down for this coronavirus, you might as well lock down for freaking people who smoke. Or people who, add too much sugar and too many cream buns. All of these stats dwarf what is going on with this coronavirus. Something else is going on. Anyway, if you're in America, I'm going to switch here. If you're in America, something sneaky has been going on. Now, there's a very big contingent of Christians in America. And a lot of them are Christian Zionists, and a lot of them support Israel. But there's a fair portion that do not support Israel. And I know that the term Judeo-Christian is an oxymoron, right? It is an oxymoron, okay? You only have to look into the Talmud to realise that. And I'll save that for another presentation. The point being here, I'm just going to read this. It says here, dear lovers of freedom, could social destabilizing caused by the coronavirus result in persecution of Christians? History has shown, as in the French and Russian Revolution, that out of civil chaos, the most anti-Christian philosophies and demagogues can emerge inevitably. Since Christianity is incompatible with such movements, Christians are first marginalized as, unquote-unquote, undesirables, then persecuted. This is already happening. On December the 11th, 2019. When did the coronavirus kick off? Anyway, 2019. President Trump issued an executive order containing the allegation that Christianity, and by definition the New Testament, are anti-Semitic. This incredible charge is buried in his decree as example number 9 of the Jewish International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, 11 contemporary examples of anti-Semitism, quote unquote. Trump's order includes the IHRC examples, upholding them not as law, but as presidentially approved recommendations to government. Okay? I was alarmed, not so, because I know this chap and his work, and he's done some stellar work. And so therefore, when I know this Christian fella, I get a good heads up. And so I went to the working definition of anti-Semitism. And I wanted to find a text where it persecutes Christians, and indeed it does. Now, you may say, well, it's not law. All of these things start... This man here, not that man, this man who's written this, he was the man, in fact, I could tell you, Pastor Ted Pike. Pastor Ted Pike is the man behind the film The Other Israel. Judaism, was it Zionism? No, Judaism, Christianity and Unholy Alliance. He's the one that goes into the Talmud and tells us exactly what the Talmud says about Christians, etc. And you know, the Talmud permitting the paedophilia of children, girls aged 6, boys aged 8. It's a powerful documentary. It's still on YouTube. And he was the first one making hate laws for Christians. He was warning us about hate laws before hate laws came in. Before it actually became enacted. He was telling everybody to write your congressman. As he does here. The text of this tells you, right, to phone your congressman. Let me go here, because he actually goes in there and gives you advice on what to do. Now, I knew the ADL had the New Testament as anti-Semitic years ago. I looked it up at the ADL website and I couldn't believe it. I was like, how the fuck did they get away with this? How the fuck do you get away with this? And this is a Christian country. Yet, they're in Parliament. They should not be in England. I use the English flag because they're banned from England for good by royal decree. It's never been lifted. Ever. Ever. No Jew is supposed to be in England at all. It's not anti-Semitic. Number one, they're not Semitic, right? And number two, it's the truth. So, he's got the points here, and it says there... Number 7, these are some of his recommendations. Call into Christian Conservative Talk Radio, explaining that Trump's executive order of December 11, 2019 encourages the US government to consider that Christians and the New Testament are anti-Semitic. Tell listeners to go to truthtellers.org for documentation. Okay. It's got part points. Let me just go through these. Let me go through some of these. This is what Pastor Ted is telling you to do. I hope I've got enough time on my camera there. We shall see. So 1, put the second article in the bulletin boards of your local church, college, seminary or Bible school. That means tell your people. 2, visit evangelical churches, giving the second article to parishioners en route to parking areas. So these are for people who are on the ground in America. Do your due diligence, your work. 3, mail the first and second article to the senior assistant pastor, your youth directors of evangelical churches in your area. Such churches do not usually give out email addresses for leadership. So snail mail them to church address, no names, only titles are necessary. 4, forward this main article with the handout article to every wild Midwest. To the very widest number of email contacts you can muster. 5, make the most of the wide arsenal of communication assets, the internet facilities, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, hashtags, MySpace, etc. to publicize the following. If you're in America, do this. I don't care if you're in America and you believe in freedom, do this. Okay? If you like your Sarnetta, get on Sarnetta and actually understand the argument and put the argument. Fuck Sarnetta. Because if you ask me, I think he's a freaking agent anyway, you know what I mean? But I had a course to watch one of his shows the other day. And it was a great show. It was an educational show. It was with actual scholars and people that really mattered. And I was wondering, how the hell? But it's a platform. So the people aren't going to have a go at him. It's a platform to tell the truth. And these guys told the truth. And of course, flip-flop, Sarnetta, again, yeah, he's with them. Yeah. But yet, how you can be with him, but Brother Jabari is the Floyd Mayweather of debate. Who disagrees with him? This is why I know he's an agent, because that guy's been flip-flopping for decades, well, years. I've known him. He'll agree with everybody who's there at the moment. And as soon as they got somebody else come in and do a presentation, he's with them. He's like, boy, slime. Anyway, right? So, it's not out there. It's not yonder. It's right with you. You got to do your due diligence. You got to raise your family. You got to go to work. You got to pay your bills. You got to love your lover and make sure that she's okay and he's okay. But collectively, your duty is for your freedom and freedom of your nation and to enlighten your people around you. We don't speak to one another anymore because you're not opening your mouth and doing spread the gospel. It's the Christian country. It's the place to do it. It's the place to do it. Okay? As for human beings, we all make mistakes, but please will you own your errors? Own your own errors. Okay? We're all flawed. We've all made embarrassing mistakes from time to time. Own them. Don't make another layer of a lie and cover it up. Because you know at the end of the day, there will be some angry people about the lie you've spoken about. I remember this Jewish professor. He says, well, even if the Holocaust is a lie, we've got to maintain the lie because there may be, hell to pay for those who lied. And we don't want to see that, do we? In the meantime, the people who are lying are giving everybody hell on earth to maintain it. Don't lie in the first place. Own your errors. Own up straight away. Be that man. Be that woman. Be that leader. Own your errors straight away, as quick as you can. And be real about your apology. Lord knows that there are people out there, and I know a few who want to tear my name down. Who've gone out there and tear my name down. Some close to home as well. And I'm like, why'd you do that? Why are you putting out something which, one, is not true? Two, it's a half story of the situation. Three, you should ask me what was going on. And those who don't like you, they don't care about the truth. They don't want to know it. I knew it. And they just roll out. And then you get a dirty name. So, you know what I mean? You can't own up to something that's not you or something that's been caricatured to be you. So that's why it's best to straight away, so that your truth is out there. And I say your truth, your explanation of what happened or whatever the case may be, if it's that. I mean, look, what you did to somebody in bed is just one of those things. You chose the wrong chap to be with. If he wants to blab her mouth about it or she wants to blab her mouth about it, put it down. It doesn't make them a good person, does it? You'll be forgiven. Somebody's going to love you, you know what I mean, and understand you. Next point, expose corruption wherever, whenever, and from whomever. That's even, look, I don't want nothing to do with any Freemason. I don't care what you think it is. Unfortunately, I think I know what it is. And the first footing the Talmud has got. By idiotic people, make a good man better, my ass. Good men emerge. Good men are born and blessed. And they emerge. You go through your struggles like I'm going through mine. And I shall emerge from it. I'm not asking for some group to hold a good man down who's trying to emerge. Or is it time to emerge and putting somebody else in there who's rubbish, but because he's joined some funny handshake club. Nah, we don't do that. And don't do it. That's your demise. And I'm running through this quick because I believe I might run out of time. Stand up for the truth, speak it, share it, please maintain it. It's your one chance to beat these crooks, these criminal politicians, these jelly-backed politicians, these lying doctors who are on the television, spreading fear, the Nick Ferraris. We've got to have a time when we are in the Sainsbury's, the Tesco's, the Waitroses, the Marks and Spencers, and then you come across a crowd and the public have got Nick Ferrari and they're tarring feathering. I've got him, tethered. All of these, Sheila Fogarty's, Majid Nawaz's, anybody on the radio that's lying to us into wars, into Gaddafi's death, into the global warming. Anybody you hear on the radio, remember, there should be no safe place for these people to actually flaunt their wealth, ill-gotten gains and their lies. They must know that the people have awoken, and your days of doing it and getting paid for it and nice pensions and holiday homes and double houses and flipping houses and taking the public's money, at the same time robbing the very vulnerable with the DUP's lie and mass crime, has got to stop. It's got to stop, and they've got to pay for it.